Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on the U45 morning show. Party politics and the doctrine of separation of powers. Separation of powers, that's what it is in theory all over the world. In democracy, we are told that the three arms of government, the executive, the judiciary, and the legislature, must act independently, that is, independent of each other. That is, none must be seen to be controlled or influenced by the other. And it makes sense. In advanced climes, you talk about the US or Britain, you see that clearly playing out. Remember the elections, the Trump-Biden election, even those he appointed, I mean talking of President Trump, into the courts, the Supreme Court, did not toe his line. They acted independently based on what was on ground, the law. They were not influenced by the fact that he just appointed them. That's independence demonstrated. In Nigeria, do we have such independence? Can our lawmakers honestly say that they are not influenced by the executive when they are taking decisions, when they are enacting laws? And you move to the judiciary. Can the judiciary honestly say that they are never dictated to, never influenced by either the legislature or the executive? Well, we have a lawyer here with us as our guest. It's an issue because some people will say, yes, they are independent. I know somebody cited the case of Mrs. Onoche, the woman they wanted to make an INEC commission. I said, you see, that's an example that the legislature is independent. The president wanted the person, but they said, no, it is not qualified. So, is that a true demonstration of independence, in your opinion?
No, I don't think so. I think that has just... that is, it would be too simplistic to say that the mere rejection of that lady shows that the legislature is independent of the executive. That was just a mere routine appointment. It is when you have very critical issues like maybe PIP bill.
Okay.
And you have issues like a constitutional
amendment.
When you have things like restructuring and all that, that is when you begin to see the true essence of the separation of arms between all these different governments. And then you also remember that the judiciary, especially when you had people like Okuta, when you had people like Kayode Esho, and Ways and some of these other very responsible, reputable, and activist judges, also say. You remember the case of Ojukwu and the Lagos State government.
Over property?
Over, I think was it Filasca Lodge or something?
Yes.
In Ikoyi in there.
Yeah.
A property built by his father. During the Civil War, the Lagos State government said they took it over and war review. And then when he came back somehow, Juku is a very smart person. He found a way back into the property as a tenant. And after some time, he said, look, he's no longer going to continue to pay rent on the property owned by his father. And the executive arm of God, especially in Lagos State, India and all that, wanted to use brute force to evict him from the property, and then he resisted. And we'll find out, when the case got to court, our judges were able to stand up, told the executive arm of God and said, look, you don't go start evicting people without following the due process of law. If you had wanted him out of the place, the proper thing for you to do, you give him notice to quit. After the notice to quit, you give him 7 days notice, and then you go to court.
Okay.
And approach the court that you want to recover this property from him. And then he will also make his own case, and whoever the court finds more meriting in his case or appeal, it would give a ruling. And I remember, I think it was Illustrious Oputa who said, look, the action of the Lagos State government was an executive rascality, which no judiciary should tolerate. And that happened, I think, during the military era, not even during the
during the military era. Okay.
You also remember the case of.
So that was that's a demonstration of independence then between the judiciary.
Yeah, we saw some judges in those places. I mean, at that time.
Yes.
Who had the courage to exercise the independence of the judiciary.
Okay.
We had.
Okay.
We also remember the case of the woman who ruled that Shonekan's government was an unlawful and illegal government. It took a lot of guts for a judge to be able to say that to a sitting head of state.
Yeah.
And the woman ruled and all that. And no appeal has been, nobody has appealed that judgment. It was only Abacha who used executive fiat to recognize the government of the interim government of Chief Shoneka, and they continue to invite him to the former head of state forum. Meeting, yes. And he is also being paid whatever salaries and allowances are being paid to all the former heads of state. Head of state. So there was also the case of Wole Soyinka, who was allegedly accused of going to hijack a radio station in Ibadan and all that. And under the government of Ladoke Akitola, who was Premier of Western Region, he was alleged to have hijacked the radio station, seized the broadcast that the Premier wanted to make, and then made his own broadcast. So he eventually was arrested and taken to court and all that. And the judge of the court, Kayode Esho, at that period in time, ruled against the executive arm of government. Of course, all this anti-grazing thing we are also talking about. Adewale Thompson, Honorable Justice Adewale Thompson, I think as far back as was in 1964 and all that, ruled in his court that, look, it is repugnant to natural justice to say somebody who is a private businessman who is rearing a cattle should or can be allowed to go into somebody else's farm, and then his cattle will eat up the whole farm. Crops, without compensation being paid or without a consequence. So we have had a plethora of other cases like that in which the Nigerian judiciary have been able to stand up to the executive arm of government. Also too, in the Second Republic, we saw a little bit of that and other. But we must remind ourselves that the separation of power that we are talking about is not iron cast.
Okay.
It's not a thing, it's not an encouragement for there to be lack of consensus or a kind of harmonious working relationship between the different arms of government. It's only when it comes to very critical and principled decision, as provided for by law, which either the executive arm of government want to ride roughshod over the legislature, or the executive arm of government want to ride roughshod over the judiciary, just like we are seeing the governors trying to do now with regards to making money available to the judiciary in their respective state, provided for, I think, in section 81 or 6 of the Constitution. And the governors are saying no, they will not allow it, simply because they want to continue to be, they want to be buying cars for the judiciary, building the courtrooms and what have you, and providing whatever the judiciary require. Whereas they could be properly handled by the Judicial Service Commission that we have in all the different states of the Federation, and then the Federal Judicial Service Commission that we have at the federal level.
Okay.
But a society, most society in which democracy is running very smoothly, and dividend of democracy is being delivered and all that, and people's fundamental human rights are being respected, there is usually all these three different arms of government that we have mentioned, all of them know their limits, they know their boundaries, and they know the areas in which they should be able to cooperate. It is only in Nigeria that we have not been able to define them. Maybe because this democracy is still young, about 20 years old. Maybe because we don't have too many principled people in the legislature. Maybe because take for example, a lot of people will tell you that the governor, section 308 of the Constitution, the governors have immunity. No state, nobody can do anything to them.
While
they
in
can
office.
get away with anything while they are in office. Whereas in reality, that immunity is, in my humble opinion, not sacrosanct. Not sacrosanct in the sense that if, for example, a governor went and raped
a minor,
and all that, are we going to say because he's a sitting governor, he's not liable to prosecution? The answer is no. All that requires to be done is for maybe the Attorney General, after the police have conducted their investigation, and they made the investigation available to the PDP, is for the Attorney General to approach the House of Assembly and say, look, I have this case in my hand. This governor has said these are my findings and all that. And once it is made available to the Speaker and the leaders of the House of Assembly, and if it's the federal level, the National Assembly, the Ethics Committee of the House, or the Judicial Committee or whatever, would look at the merit of the case and impeach the governor so that he could go and face his trial.
Yeah, it's still the same thing. You couldn't try him while sitting. You have to impeach him first.
You have to impeach
before
him.
he gets tried.
But has it been easy impeaching a governor here in Nigeria?
That's the question.
That's not, because most of the people you find in the House of Assembly are probably handpicked
by him
to run for those elections. And look at what is happening in the two states up till now. I think about only 10 members of that House of Assembly have been sitting since the inception of Obaseki's government. And Obaseki has done 4 years. He's doing another second term now. The House of Assembly of maybe about 30 or thereabout people, it's only 10 people are allowed to see. The governor has refused to allow the other people to be part and parcel of the
So he's in control.
So he's in control. That is a gross violation of the separation of power that we are talking about. It's a gross violation. Look at the time of the day that House of Assembly was.
But does it mean that those in the Assembly too don't know their right? Because the Speaker is supposed to challenge that situation. They
do, but what is the weapon that the governor deploy against them? Like I said, most of them are appointees of the governor. He single-handedly nominates most of them to run for the election and also determine or dictate who becomes the Speaker.
Okay.
And then the principal officers of the Assembly. Furthermore, the money that the executive arm of government is supposed to be making available directly to the houses of assemblies and all that, they have refused to make it available.
They stay with the governor.
The governor does have the money to them. He controls the wallet and uses that as a weapon to dictate to what happens. In particular, the Edo Assembly, the executive arm of government just went there overnight and said they want to repair the roof, and then they removed the whole roof of the House Assembly without any taking the Speaker along. It is the Speaker who ordinarily should determine what
when the house is to be renovated or checked.
The governor did that successfully, and he has gotten away with it and all that.
Okay, let's open the lines now. We're looking at party politics and the separation of powers in Nigeria. You know, the doctrine that separates the powers of the three. That's in function now. Yes, we're looking at how it is. Let's look at the federal level. If we say there's no true separation of powers, we wouldn't have the National Assembly, for example, saying no to the president as the executive now, in some cases. So what we say that it is not fully practiced, but somehow, you remember they rejected Mago.
Exactly.
Even from the previous
Exactly.
And it's not just one party in the House of Assembly. So it's like at some times they assert their independence. At others they just collude and say no, let's have it this way.
Well, Mago's case is a good example, but it's also a very
That of Onochi has joined now.
It's also a very problematic one. Problematic in the sense that you will remember it was the DSS that wrote the damaging report against Magu, that Magu is not fit.
Yes, but the president saw that report and closed his eyes to that. But the assembly said, no, we've got to stand by this report, so we cannot confirm him.
If the person nominating is also the one that is writing that kind of very, very indictive, because the DSS is part of the executive arm of government.
Okay.
He's also the one writing that kind of indicting report against his own appointee. The legislator will not find it too difficult to reject the person.
Okay.
Furthermore, some of the people, or if not most of the people that are in the National Assembly, are persons that Magu at one time or the other stepped on their toes. You know, that happened only in the Bukola era, and I do remember.
Okay.
Bukola had series of issues with the
EFCC.
And then so many other people in the Senate and the House of Rep and all that were not in the good book of Mr. Magu and the EFCC. Even the people in there today just tolerate the EFCC or the police anti-fraud unit and all those other ICPC and whatever. It's not as if they have the power, they will ever approve anything for those people. So once in a while, you see the National Assembly and the respective houses assembly take a principled position, especially if their own vested interest also tallies with the interest of certain persons who doesn't want certain persons.
But we understand that with Mago because of what you have just said. But with this lady, Onochi now, what do they stand to lose?
The issue
the APC is in majority.
The issue with the Onochi is in law. Sometimes you say that the evidence is overwhelming.
Okay.
Sometimes when an evidence is very, very overwhelming, no matter what argument the lawyer to the defendant or to the opposing party makes and all that, the court will not find it difficult to rule against a person that an overwhelming evidence has been provided against.
Agree.
In the Onochi's case, the evidence against her was overwhelming. One, he was working as a PR or a social media person for Mr. President.
Yes.
Secondly, there were pictures of her wearing APC Ankara with Mr. President and APC written all over it. She had once gone to court to depose to an affidavit that she's a card-carrying member. I think in the case she had with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Now Alhaji Atiku Abubakar sued her for defamation and whatever. And she deposed to some affidavit in court saying that she's a card-carrying member of APC.
And such a member shouldn't be in the INEC commissioner.
What the electoral and the constitution says that anybody who is a card-carrying member of a political party cannot be a commissioner. In fact, you cannot even work
with INEC.
Because
you will not be independent.
Exactly, because why is it called Independent National Electoral Commission? The independence of the Electoral Commission would have been compromised if card-carrying people are allowed to be commissioners and staffers of the organization. Even though this is hypothetically, that is on paper. We do know that it is difficult for many of those people in there not to have the sympathy for one political party
or the other. Definitely.
But they are not supposed to openly demonstrate it or
okay, let's look at the judiciary. Can we say the same thing about judiciary in recent times? You cited past examples where the judiciary stood their grounds. These days, do we see that separation between judiciary and executive or otherwise? Is it easy to identify?
Honestly speaking, there isn't too much of it, but there could still be a few. This particular case I have forgotten, but I remember there was a woman who was supposed to be appointed the chief judge of Kwara State.
Okay.
But because of the rulings and judgments she had been given against the Kwara State government at different times and all that, the executive arm of government in Kwara State, when it was her turn to become the chief judge of Kwara State, they said they would not allow her to be the chief judge. And the woman had to go to court and all that and won the case. And I think she's the chief judge now. I think we have also had similar examples. Is it in Rivers and or Cross Rivers? And which was it Wiki or somebody said doesn't want certain person as the chief judge? Or was it under Rotimi Amici that they even went and brought the president of the customary appeal to come and be the chief judge of the state, when this other person is more senior to her. At the federal level, there are still some cases which I may not be able to remember now, in which the federal judiciary, the Court of Appeal, the Federal Court, National Industrial Court, and the Supreme Court have ruled against the executive arm of government. I'll give you an example. There were some army officers who were dismissed from the army, and then they approached the National Industrial Court and all that. And the National Industrial Court ruled against the Army Council and what is that, the court martial and approval of Mr. President for them to be dismissed. The National Industrial Court ruled against them. And they awarded damages. There might be some other similar cases.
Were they reinstated?
They were not. I think the authorities filed an appeal because the National Industrial Court is the court of first instance. The opportunity for any party who loses in there to go to the Court of Appeal and Supreme Court is always extended. In the past, it used to be that if it is not a constitutional matter or has nothing to do with fundamental human rights per se, the court, the National Industrial Court rulings and judgments were usually final. But most times now, that is no longer the case. Lawyers find a way around it
to take it further.
Because the thought at a particular point in time is that, look, most of the cases that the National Industrial Court deals with has to do with either people's pension, gratuity, salaries not being paid, or unlawful dismissal. If you now allow their cases to travel as far as the Supreme Court, it may take about 25 years. By the time it takes 25 years and all that, most of these people would have either died or would have been due for retirement, or money would have lost its value at whatever you are paying them at the end of the day. Because there were cases of unlawful dismissal that have been in our court for more than 24 years, even at the Court of First Instance, in high court of some states.
That's where the judiciary is failing this country. 25 years a case.
Exactly. Well, don't say failing the Nigerian people. When you look at some countries like India, there are also cases in there that...
Why would a case, is it lack of evidence or what? Why would a case last 30, 40 years, 20 years in court?
A lot of things cause it. One is... the rules of our courts and the practice direction affect some of these things. For example, if a case has been before a court, like I know of a case that is a land matter, they have been on it now for the past 5 years. The judge that is handling the case just retired. Is retiring this July.
The judge has retired.
This July. Now, that case has to start afresh.
Afresh?
Yes. The chief judge will assign the case to another judge.
Why? Why must it? The proceedings are there recorded. You know how far you've gone. Why must it start afresh?
The rule of our court is that
yes,
if a case is not completed before a judge retires and all that, it has to continue
afresh.
Wow. And what is the logic behind that? What is the reasoning? The reasoning is that when people appear before the court,
yes,
it is not just the documents, the papers that they present before the court that influences the decision that the judge ordinarily will make at the end of the day. When questions are thrown in the process of cross-examination, or a witness is giving an answer, the judge is looking at the face of the person in the witness box. And from the
trying to match the body language with the facts
that they give with the answers that the questions that are asked. They could also, as human beings, be able to know whether this person is a witness of truth or not. Whereas, if you are not the one who have been sitting on that kind of a case as a judge, you will not have that privilege.
I see.
I know of some cases in which certain persons will even go and hire, especially in land matter, go and hire community heirs, chiefs, and all that, to come and give false testimony, false witnesses in court. But when you have a good lawyer who is cross-examined, and they will dress like IT with beads and all that, they will cook up a story and all that and all that.
But supposing a new judge takes over now, and those who gave evidence in the past 4 years, I'm talking of the case you're talking about now, some of them have died. What happens, because you talk of collaborating the evidence now, you know, what happens in that case?
Well, if some of the witnesses have died, and you still have people know the fact of the case, you can apply to court to bring in
such people.
Furthermore, if, for example, a man dies, has a case in court over property, hypothetically, and he dies, or even pension or gratuity, and he dies before the case is completed. Sometimes you can apply to court to substitute the man with the wife or with
the child,
any of the children, and all that. Some of
to continue with the case.
To continue the case. There is a landmark ruling the Supreme Court gave not too long ago in which a case almost similar to this was before the Supreme Court, and the lawyer handling the case, prosecuting for the people who were supposed to pay this, I think it was a property matter, said, look, this property is not in the name of the wife, it's not a Kinikon, it's not a joint property and all that. And the Supreme Court said, no, this woman has some interest in this issue. And they allowed at that level in the Supreme Court for the woman to be substituted with a late husband. Also, let's go to the US now. Look at the cases of Hush Puppy, Invicti, or what do they call them, and Woodpecker, who are accused of Yahoo and something. At least they are being in prison custody in the US now for almost 1 year. And the judges in there say they are not ready to take their cases, that their diaries are full.
So it's not only in Nigeria that cases are delayed.
No, but our own is worse.
It's worse.
Worse in the sense that there are so many steps that we could take to really ensure that these things are faster, which we have deliberately, because of political reasons, refused to take. Nothing stops us. Look at a place like Lagos, 25 or 22 million people, and the number of high court judges maybe about 55. And then the magistrate court maybe about 200 or 300 and whatever to service 25 people. That is not enough. You could appoint more people. Nothing also stops us from allowing the state to have their own court of appeal and their own Supreme Court. So that you say, on the exclusive legislative leave to let the court that belongs to the federal government be handling on the exclusive legislative list. And then those on the concurrent thing, let the state courts be handling it. Then when it comes to matters of
I think you lawyers need a lot of work there, because you have associations, you have commissions,
it is the job for the for the legislator. In some of the constitutional amendments that they say they are doing now, that is certainly what they should be looking at. I think
you can form pressure groups to influence the legislature.
I agree with you.
Because you are the insiders, you know the limitations and the problems.
Too many of us are too preoccupied with trying to earn a living than to pay attention to justice delivery.
Okay, party politics and separation of powers. We've been looking at that. Somehow it's working in some areas, not exactly, but we are hopeful. We hope the independence, what do they call it, financial autonomy, yes?
Yeah.
Financial autonomy will take place this year. We hope so. After all, the judicial adjustment, I think, they went on strike because of that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Briefly, we'll look at agriculture. We have launched so many, yes, because we read today now that, of course, we know that inflation is on, food prices are gone up beyond the reach of the poor, and we recall, now we are blaming insecurity mainly, and it is true, because most people cannot farm, because they are attacked, and they are harassed, and so on and so forth. Cows eat up their crops, and so on and so forth. But before now, the federal government had launched so many schemes. Operation Feed the Nation, Green Revolution, can't remember some of them, Back to Land. Why have we failed? What is the problem? Can you identify any?
Very simple. Corruption is one of it. Lack of political will is one of it. Let me start with the political will. You find out that most time when decisions are going to be taken in this country, very crucial decisions, they are looked at from north versus south. After this has been looked at from the perspective of what is going to benefit the north, what is going to benefit from the south. The people in power will also look at what is going to benefit the state in which I am coming from. Look at what recently happened with the electronic transmission of results and then the PIB bill. Somebody came out congratulating the legislator from the north for being able to secure 30% for inland prospecting for oil. And for not allowing the electronic transmission of results to scale through. Will you say that is a national interest?
No.
So you also find out that when we map out some of this strategy to revolutionize agriculture in this part of the world, we are looking at it from also similar, very myopic, primordial perspective.
Yeah, but nothing's wrong with that. Look at what the president did in Katsina not too long ago. He launched a very massive agricultural
giving about 5 billion for cattle ranch.
Thank you.
And all that.
And we had we saw other segments there.
But the president is not supposed to do that. That is unlawful. It is illegal.
Well, I think that's on behalf of the Katsina state government.
Offense. He gave it to the he already gave 5 billion naira to the Katsina state government to start experimenting with cattle ranch.
Yeah, but apart from cattle, there were other things too. There was some poultry.
No, they will poultry, a ranch.
Yes.
In which the Fulani, they will have a small housing settlement in there. Dams will be there. Schools will be there. And they will have their own market. They will have their own bank and all that. It's a kind of prototype housing.
Okay. But we saw pictures of poultry farms, rabbit, and other things included in that project. Is it not? Yeah. So why can't states, take what benefits them now? They may not be interested in the ranch, but there are other agricultural aspects you can invest in. What is wrong with that?
Nothing.
Good.
Nothing.
So if you have that in the 30 states or 35 states.
But the truth of the matter is, look at the approach that Mr. President has given it.
Yeah.
If it's a program that he has a very clear picture of what he wanted.
Okay.
And he had consulted with experts, that wouldn't be the first step to take.
Okay. What
just
would have been
throwing money into a problem.
For
example, you call all the agricultural experts together and say, look, we don't want cattle roaming the forest in Nigeria.
No, I'm not talking of the cattle. Now, I understand the cattle has vested interest. I'm talking of the other aspects of agriculture, food production.
Even within the Fulani settlements and all that.
Yes.
It's not only cattle alone they rear.
Good.
I don't know whether you have visited any of their settlements before. They usually rear goats too.
Yeah, I agree with that. What I'm saying is that is for Katsina State.
Yes.
I agree the method used by the president may not be right. But what stops states now, that's other states now, from developing such massive agricultural ventures?
Nothing. The examples are there. When Awolowo was premier of Western Region and all that, he built a cattle ranch somewhere in Owo, India.
Good.
Now. And the cattle ranch is still there.
You can even make it a settlement for the farmers.
It is a very massive settlement. There were housing estates in there.
Why?
There are abattoirs in there.
Good.
There were milk factory in there. There were places where they would tan the skins of the animal and sell to those who use it to make shoes, belts, and what have you.
Why not?
And all that. But immediately the military took over power after in the Second Republic and what have you. What do they do? The governor of Western Region in there.
No, you are referring to that era now.
I'm just giving you an example.
Outside the military, we had Operation Feed the Nation. I think that was under Shagari
I'm giving you an
also.
example that
Yes.
if Awolowo was able to do it in the First Republic, nothing stopping the governor
Okay, now from doing the same thing.
Looking at the environment.
That's it.
What is it that we have comparative advantage over?
Exactly.
In this area that we can also encourage the farmers to begin to do. In fact, there is no part of this country that you cannot rear cattle, that you cannot rear goat, that you cannot rear rabbit. It's the political will and the vision. The truth of the matter is that that kind of project doesn't bring money into the private pockets of the governors and the legislators.
Okay, that's why we've been failing.
Yes, that's why I say corruption.
Yeah, okay.
They would rather build overhead bridges in which whatever
because
money
contracts will be awarded will be easily recouped.
Like Akeredolu now says he wants to build another government house. When they won his predecessors.
I'm afraid we have to go, but we have to keep talking because
I think
there are
is
countries.
We revisit
Yes, we have to revisit that because there are areas that produce tomatoes, the yams, and these are products you can change into so many other processes, canned and other things. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
There were palm fruit estates.
Yeah. Okay.
That were established.
A word from Leadway Assurance.
Corruption.
From every angle, from every view, forever my baby, I'll always have my eyes on you. From north to south, from the east to the west, you drive my heart, I always have my eyes on you. And yes, it's true, you remind me of a lovely picture, it's true. I can't deny. I've got
If you truly love it, get the Leadway Auto Insurance now.
I've got my eyes on you.
Leadway Assurance, insuring happiness since 1970.
Buying insurance is important as it ensures that you are financially secure to face any type of problem in life. This is why insurance is a very important part of financial planning. Let's find out what Nigerians know about the importance of insurance in financial planning. My name is Peace.
Well, like if you are going to have a financial plan for your future or for your family, for example, it is good that you go into insurance because that will give you a guarantee that your plans will surely work. You know, like I do insurance on my property. Like my car now is insured, right? And so I know that instead of the car being a liability, it can be turned to an asset because I know that the value will not depreciate.
Insurance is the money you set aside for in case of accident. So, you know, when you have insurance, you know, in your business, accidents can happen anytime. Like, you know, like a driver, like if your vehicle or your keke get accident, so you go back to that your insurance to collect some certain money, to buy another one, so that the heaviness, as in the money, will not be too much when you want to buy another one.
The importance of insurance in financial planning. You know, most of us don't know that once we get to have have properties or have cars or anything, once we don't insure them and it's damaged, you lose everything. But what insurance does for you and insurance companies do for you is to bear the risk of it. And most of us don't get to know that this risk they are bearing is they are going to pay you they are going to pay out some of those damages for you that has already been incurred. But most of us keep looking at I'm wasting money. But we don't know that this insurance thing, that if we don't do it and there's a problem that comes on, you lose everything. Take for instance for a man that owns a car and you run into a reckless motor accident, you lose everything. But let's say you have a comprehensive insurance and you hit, You can even get part of the money and you can recover the car like a new one. Some insurance companies go as far as making working on the cars for you to come out new. So I think insurance is very, very important for everyone to actually do, you know.
If you insure your car, just go and sleep. Because once you insure your car, do you understand? Once you insure your car, you have a rest of mind. That even if anything happens to your car, the insurance company they are ready to help you to repair the car. Do you understand me? And if they cannot do that, they will give you some certain amount. Do you understand me? To repair, to do it for you. They are very good. I have to tell the truth. Insurance companies are very good. They are nice, and they are ready to help anybody. Do you understand me?
Insurance is important because the insurance company bear the risk of the loss you have. So if you actually wanted to, if anything happens like an accident or an event of loss of properties, let's use properties for houses, and there's a fire outbreak. So you need an insurance company to help you pay some of the debts, because you will not start building the house again all by yourself. The insurance company will assist with the money. When you insure your property, they will also be able to pay part of the money so that you can be able to build it again instead of going all by yourself. Cars, the same way my colleague said, with cars too, they can also pay part of the money for the loss of your vehicles. In case it's stolen, they'll also pay part of the money. You don't have to start planning on how to buy a new car. The insurance company will help cover it for you too.
On that note, it is safe to say that with Leadway Insurance, you can have insurance policies to secure your health, your travel, your motor vehicle, and your home. Still remember your humble peace. Bye for now.
From every angle, from every view, forever my baby, I'll always have my eyes on you. From north to south, from the east to the west, you drive my heart, I always have my eyes on you. And yes, it's true, you remind me of a lovely picture, it's true, I can't deny. I've got my eyes on
If you truly love it, get the Leadway Auto Insurance now.
I've got my eyes on you.
Leadway Assurance, insuring happiness since 1970.
Okay, about time to go now. And were you born when these sets were in use? I don't know. Look at them and tell me, do you remember them? If you remember them, it's either yes, you were born in the 70s or before, or you met them in uncle's house, you know, lying fallow. So the black and white TV sets, and it later went colored. I think some people will still find them, maybe in some houses, you know, abandoned. But
let me chip something.
Yes.
Well, we saw a little bit of this when we were growing. Do you know when I was growing up in the Ibadan?
Yes.
There were only 4 places.
You could watch
There was
TV.
television. There was one in Chibofefe Mawulowo's house.
Yes.
There was one in one person they call Adepisi Dikon.
Okay.
There was also the Agbajis. I can't remember the name of the
name
fourth
of the
person.
Yes, everybody will gather
by their window.
By their window.
And when they are getting choked up with a lack of ventilation inside,
yes,
they begin to throw water at us.
Okay. All right, that's it. It used to be in those days. Thank God we're making progress there, technology. If you are celebrating today, the 22nd day of July, I wish you a happy celebration. Could be your birthday, wedding anniversary, graduation, name it. Have a wonderful day. But remember that 22 is the age of fecundity. It is the year when the pregnant mother has the smallest chance of losing her unborn child. That's according to the Book of Ages. It says fetus death is about 12 in 1,000, compared with 47 in 1,000 when the mother is 45. Okay, and for careers, this is the start of an important period stretching from 22 to 28, talking about 22 years, when we concern ourselves with what we ought to do with our lives. The previous years have been focused more on the problem of pulling up roots and gaining independence. Let's look at Cassius Clay. You know Cassius Clay, later to become Muhammad Ali. He became the world heavyweight boxing champion for the first time at the age of 22. When he defeated the reigning champion Sonny Liston. That was in 1964. He won the title again in 1974, beating George Foreman, and the third time in 1978 when his victim was Leon Spinks, making him the greatest heavyweight in the history of boxing. Thank you for the wonderful company. We'll see you again on Monday. Tunde, Kolawole, thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. And you there at home, join us again. To the hands here on duty, thank you for the wonderful job. I am Ambrose Ezenweani, brighten up the face with some smiles, and if you see someone without any, give him one of yours. Bye-bye now.